I want you to get together.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the Charlie Kirk situation. I don't really know much about him. I'm not in the political right wing, left wing politics sphere anymore. Like every now and then, I would get sucked in and for a little bit in the hype, but then step back out and go, "Oh, I remember the Hegelian dialectic method." Never mind. Two birds of the same, two wings of the same bird, shall we say? Left and right, red and blue, all that nonsense, divide and conquer. But I understand there are good people on both sides, shall we say, who sincerely believe they're actually on the side of justice and righteousness. I would call them useful idiots. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it works. But I'm not saying they don't believe what they're talking about and aren't passionate about what they believe. And yes, it does seem like that culture war is ramping up to a bloody level, unfortunately. And I understand Charlie Kirk is more like of the right wing, Trump supporting MAGA type voice piece out there, influencer. And I did just hear he got shot not that long ago, and apparently he's been pronounced dead. So that's very sad. Let's pray for Charlie's family in this time as well, and let's do the best we can to not let the division sink in, because lately it seems like they're really trying to poke the bear with a stick with a lot of the stuff that's happening right now in the media, or at least what they're pointing the camera at, because there's always been violence on both sides, and particularly primarily the left is more violent towards the right. That is certainly true. I'm not denying that whatsoever. But what's starting to happen now is because of that complete and total dictatorial control of the left over the masses, the right is now rising up and clapping back, in a big way. They're kind of they've had enough. They've been so hyper polarized. The fights are happening now, and naturally the media will point to the right wing violence and say, "Look at these crazy right wing violence nut jobs," and not really, and kind of underplay the left wing violence. I know how it goes. Trust me, I'm not saying I'm not a liberal. I'm not like a conservative or anything like. I don't play that game. I don't play the left right nonsense. Okay. But I'm watching it, and I've been watching it for years, and I think the pendulum swing, which is by design, by the way, is happening now. And I think the right is going to rise in a big way against the stuff that's being shown to them, which is making them very angry, and not just specifically against, let's say, mean tweets and insensitivities of the right, let's say, towards trans people or that kind of stuff, all that trivial nonsense. I'm talking like the racial divides, the immigration stuff, all that kind of stuff is bubbling up to the surface now. The rape gang stuff, everyone's sick of it, and I think I think they know this would happen. I think they planned this for a long time. I think they knew eventually the Anglo-Saxon in Europe, or the American right, or whatever it is, that the patriots will eventually snap back. There's only so far they can push them, because obviously being primarily Christian and tolerant and nice, it takes a long time to push that side over the edge to violence. Okay, because they are centered and have a higher moral principle, generally speaking, because of that, because of their faith, usually in their roots and in the traditions of Christianity. But hell hath no fury like the Anglo-Saxon when he finally rises up, type of situation, and I think they know that. It's like a poem about that, I believe. And I think what's happening now is we're seeing that flip, that reaction. But the thing is, they caused the problem, and they are causing the reaction too. They want that reaction. That was the point. They knew this would happen. Okay, because the thing is, it's to implement more control in the long run. But to make it seem like an organic victory over the evils of the world, when really the solution is going to be exactly what they planned from the very beginning. And I'm seeing that happen now. The stabbing that has happened of the Ukrainian girl as well, that was shown all over the media. It's kind of, that's all done on purpose. They are showing all this on purpose. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying they're showing these things, and the camera's on them now, and they're put everywhere timed, not like perfect timing for them. It's kind of like, right, we'll use that now. We'll use this particular event. We'll ignore that one, but we'll use this violent one because that one has the better optics to forward our agenda. I think they're just playing that game all the time, and it's being led. You're being led like lambs to the slaughter, like lemmings over a cliff. But they're playing on your national identity, your pride, and they're playing on your morality. They're weaponizing your morality because, yes, it's not wrong to want to defend young women against violent men. It's not wrong to want to protect your nation and children and women from predatory migrants. It's not wrong to want to be able to be proud of your country and to have lower taxes and not to be run into the ground by communistic, socialistic ideals that are just completely bankrupting you. It's not wrong to want any of that to stop at all. Morally speaking, what they are doing is evil. And that's the point, But the reaction that's going to happen as well is going to be framed as a greater evil, probably. It's because these people control the narrative through the box in the corner of the room. And most people who are reacting and having these issues and having these emotions and riling up are fixed to the box in their pocket or the corner of the room. So they're under the mind control already. And it's kind of, if we all just switched it off, things would change drastically. But sometimes I wonder if we're a bit too far gone for that, to be honest. I don't know. I have no idea. But yes, the whole Charlie Kirk situation is, I don't think we've heard the end of that. That's going to be another thing compounding on top of what just happened with that stabbing recently. There's more to come. It's going, and obviously we had the trans shooting of Catholic children as well. It's all kind of popping off, isn't it? Big time. It's and in the past, it's kind of I'm surprised they would have allowed those stories to get out into the media, but I think they're letting it get out. I think they want it out now. It's time to make the oppressed masses rise up and have their revolution. And it's always bloody, it's always brutal, and everybody on both sides loses whenever this happens. The only people who win are the puppet masters at the top who orchestrated the whole mess to begin with. And it's a tale as old as time itself, as old as corruption and secret societies itself. And look, I don't know what the solution is. I really don't know what, when it comes to these strong emotions, boots on the ground, when it's your daughters and your children this is happening to. I understand that my words mean nothing. I get it. What am I supposed to do? All I can do is stay focused on Christ, do the best I can to survive in this world, and pray for the victims. And just pray for God's intervention as much as we can, and to help those who need the help when we can provide it. And just try our best to love one another and change society and do the best we can in a way to be the example that's needed and to love one another, which is kind of the above loving your God, above everything else, loving one another and loving your neighbor is the greatest commandment, really. And I think there's a reason for that. I think, but then in my recent video, I talked about the traumatic effect of 2020 on the psyche of the population and the masses. And I feel like when people are traumatized and have PTSD, yes, behavior becomes erratic, wild, unpredictable, and dangerous, and minds become malleable. People do become schizophrenic. They get split personalities to cope with the trauma, and I think we're seeing that en masse. So it's just seemed like a bit of an odd, terrifyingly hopeless situation. But I feel like if we can all get back to God, get back to focusing on ourselves, and get back to loving one another in our media areas, and yes, at the same time, calmly and collectively dealing with the issues that have been put upon us correctly, like immigration problems and the necessary deportation situation, all that kind of stuff. It does need to be dealt with, but there's a way it needs to be dealt with, which I feel like we're being pushed to deal with it more in a violent manner than the correct manner. Because there was always going to be an eventual backlash to all of this, and they knew it. So now they've got to control the synthesis of the situation. So I would be very careful of the media's attention, where they're guiding your attention right now. I really would be. Like it's But it's tough. Again, it's really tough. Like I've been watching for like decades. You know what I mean? I'm a conspiracy guy, you know, and I try and look for ulterior motives behind every story, and I'm questioning every narrative that comes before me and all the rest of it. And I'm watching movements rise and fall, and political movements, you know, and religious movements and the rest, and the politics. And I try and keep as much as I can, a finger on the pulse of that as much as I possibly can without getting sucked in, because it really plays on your morality and emotions, you know, and long term, I'm seeing a constant flip flop back and forth between both extremes, just to cause a snapping point and a fight. I think that's what they're after, and I really think, you know, when the left fight, it's pathetic, it's petty, it's weak, you know, and it's shameful. But I think when the right finally snap and fight back, I think it will be unprecedented. I don't think it's going to be the same as what we've seen the left do. And it will be a righteous reaction as far as they're concerned as well. It's going to be rough. It's going to be insane. Like, and I feel like the Controls knew this from the beginning. And this is what they're trying to foment. And I feel like the last time something like this happened, the aftermath was framed as the worst evil to ever be implemented on humanity ever. Okay? And that narrative has echoed for over 80 years since that time, you know. So this is the problem, isn't it? I feel like they've done this before. I feel like this has been done before. And we're about that time for it to happen again, aren't we? Just the map's changed. That's all. The ideas haven't changed. The names change, but the game remains the same. That's a term I coined for a song a long time ago. So there we go. Sorry, I rambled a bit there. But yeah, that Charlie Kirk thing, I'm definitely seeing that as possibly a straw that's about to snap the camel's back. And level heads prevail, people.
I want you to get together